The report is an account of the efforts of Daniel Jones, Adam Driver, and the US Senate Intelligence Committee, headed by Dianne Feinstein, Annette Bening, to investigate the enhanced interrogation techniques used by the CIA in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. It's also an account of the CIA's efforts to frustrate the investigation and to quash the report.
I want to find out what was on the tapes, why they were destroyed.
Following 9/11 and the war in Afghanistan, suspected terrorists were held at black sites around the world. 2 ex-Air Force psychologists were contracted at exorbitant cost to apply their so-called enhanced techniques, i.e. torture, to extract information from the prisoners. And it's uncomfortable to watch. But this is about the aftermath, the efforts to find out what happened and to refute CIA claims that these methods were effective. It's a complex screenplay by Scott Z. Burns, a frequent collaborator of Steven Soderbergh, who was one of the producers of this film. Burns worked from the 6,700-page report of Jones over years to present accuracy in this film, which insists on accountability for past sins. And despite the denseness of the film, its message and the tension about getting this report seen is always accessible. Even under the Obama administration, his chief of staff, played by Hamm, made efforts to sweep things under the carpet. Austerely shot by Eigel Brild in mostly cold colours, with a production designed to emphasise the closeted nature of the investigation in a windowless cellar and the horrors of the torture cells, it's an extremely powerful film, which in its own way stresses the unique power of America to expose its own ugliness and account for it. In the wake of 9/11, there was fear and guilt within the CIA. There were self-justifications to use any method to prevent further attacks. This report bears all.
Well, it certainly does bear all, isn't it? It's a very singular film in so many ways, I think, and it's sort of, I suppose the moral lesson of it is that there are systems in place that will hold people accountable, and they actually do work.
Yeah.
And that's the big moral lesson to take out in terms of the contemporary resonance of this film. And I just love the way, again, thinking about the singularity of it, that so much of it is focused in that windowless room, and it's very cold and, as you say, very austere. And it's not until we go to the torture scenes that the music changes and the colour really sort of amps up.
Yeah.
It's very interesting sort of technically, and I think as a piece of craft, this movie. But it makes such sort of strong moral points, but it never shouts. It's all about the dialogue. And interestingly, with the Driver character, we have no sense of him at all, except that he's a person who's doing a job.
Well, he's driven.
He's driven, but we don't see anything about his home life or anything else. It's just that job.
Well, we know
that's important.
from the opening scenes that he actually loses a girlfriend during the process.
Yes, he's rather
but we
sadly
never
mentions
have
that,
access to his private life. But, you know, it's interesting the way you witness his growing obsession with exposing this. I think it's really a remarkable film. And, you know, Scott Z. Burns wrote The Laundromat, you know, for Soderbergh. So, I mean, he's a really good writer, and I think very meticulous about, you know, getting accuracy into his film.
And it's very wordy, but the actors handle the words very well.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly Driver, who has great chunks of dialogue. And the dialogue scenes, you know, between him and Bening are really well handled at every level. I mean, the actors are very, very good in this. It's not easy, I think, to such great chunks of dialogue to do.
I know. It's very dense. And in fact, it was a film that I felt I had to see twice. So I have actually seen it twice, and I think it is really, really good. And I would give it 4.5 stars.
I'd give it 4.5 as well. This is pretty interesting, isn't it?
Maybe we could come up with some middle ground, find some common language.
I thought our job was to provide oversight and accountability, not middle ground.
I have a question for you. Do you work for me or for the report? And I'd encourage you to think about that before answering.